hop on. We're going to take you for a ride. No, not the type of ride you would get from a gangster. That might be a very relaxing experience compared to what happens on this ride. You'll be accompanied by the Headless Horseman, the Woman in White, and every other moaning and groaning ghost of the Eastern Seaboard. Well, say goodbye to Terrytown, good Mr. Irving. You are now entering Sleepy Hollow. Have you ever heard of the legend of Sleepy Hollow? Well, before this ride is over, Mr. Ichabod Crane will again shiver through the Sleepy Hollow graveyard on the most frightful mission of his life. Yes, the adventure of Ichabod Crane is one of the finest stories from the colonial days of this republic. Well, are you ready? We're going to the one spot in these United States which is a collector's item for lovers of good nightmares. How's that? Oh, we're on the east bank of the Hudson River. We'll be coming up on a small glen here soon. Boy, I tell you, this is one of the quietest places in the whole world, it is. Of course, on summer afternoons, it's one of the loveliest. But on dark nights like this one, it changes, Mr. Irving. You can hear strange music and voices in the air. And the stars fall and the meteors shoot more often across this valley than in any other part of the country. Shh, quiet. Listen. Well, maybe it's the wind, or maybe not. Folks from Terrytown will tell you that's a British major. Andre was his name. He was caught by the Americans with the wrong papers in his boots, on the wrong side of the lines. He be there to this day, all bloodied with the great rent in his uniform, hanging from a tulip tree, right over there. I think it's that tree. I don't have my glasses on. Oh, that? Well, that might be the sound that the brook makes as it edges down past that rock over there. Or it might be the woman in white, who perished in the snow centuries ago, in the dark here in Sleepy Hollow. Why don't you visit it some night when the sky is black? It's a graven rock you'll find her. And if you listen well, you'll hear her soft voice wailing in the darkness. Wailing in the darkness. Would you like to hear the most famous legend of Sleepy Hollow? It concerns a Hessian soldier. For a sack of gold coins, he came to this sequestered glen to fight for King George III. Oh, that sound. Oh, maybe it's thunder. Or it could be the ancient echo of a cannonball. A blast which hit that Hessian trooper in the days of the Great Revolution. I forgot to mention the cannonball carried away his head. Anyone who rides within 100 miles of this hollow will tell you that the Hessian trooper, the headless horseman, rides in nightly quest of his head. You see that schoolhouse over there? Well, about 30 years ago, we had a schoolmaster. It was Ichabod Crane. He was tall, exceedingly lank. One might have mistaken him for a scarecrow eloped from a cornfield. He was a heavy reader, studied Cotton Mather's account of witchcraft.
Silence now. Silence. Oh, now then. Walter,
Yes, sir.
proceed.
Well,
The class is waiting, Walter.
put down 6 and carry 3.
Quiet. It's put down 6 and carry 4.
Oh, carry 4.
Proceed.
Oh, I can't do the sum, sir.
Son, do you recollect that this is one of the sums I gave you to study at home yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Well, perhaps you need something stronger than word of mouth to teach you your sums.
Oh, no, sir. I'll learn them. Please.
Ignorance is a vicious sin. Now the hurt will soon pass, Walter, but you will always remember the lesson you learned today and thank me for it the longest day you have to live.
Yes, sir.
Yes, spare the rod and spoil the child. Now then, for the next sum, who can tell me where...
That lordly sway with which he ruled his little empire at the school. Well, that was only one passage of Ichabod's nature, however. Since he lived a week at a time with all the farmers in the neighborhood, and since he was an amazingly huge feeder, it behooved him to make himself useful and agreeable to his patrons.
I think I have that fence horribly well mended, Mistress Van Ripper.
Oh, I'm obliged to you, my dear Crane.
Uh-huh.
And my husband wondered if you would be so kind as to take the horses to water.
Horses to water. Right away.
But first I have a few things I want you to do.
At your service, Mistress Van Ripper.
I've been so busy about the house, I neglected to churn butter for supper.
Churn the butter. Certainly. Horses to water.
That's the churn by the fireplace. The cream's already in it.
Yes, there's nothing like fresh churned butter for supper, I always say.
Oh, heavens, now the baby's crying and we have a meal to prepare. While you're sitting there churning that butter, Master Crane, perhaps you could watch the baby if I put him on the floor beside you for a while.
Oh, yes, indeed. Only too happy to. There's nothing like seeing a child happy, I always say.
Just be sure you keep an eye on him. He crawls along while I'm gone.
Oh, you have no cause to fret with me here. Water horses, churn butter.
Oh, and
horses,
after you've
churn
taken the horses to water, my husband would like you to bring the cows back from the pasture.
Oh, yes, glad to. Horses to water,
And
turn
while
baby.
you're down that way, you might stop by the hen house to see if there are any fresh eggs.
I'll be sure to remember. Collect babies, churn horses, water the floors.
Oh, dearie me, as if I didn't have enough to plague me.
Has something gone awry?
Oh, the wood bin is completely empty, and I need to build a fire for supper. I meant to ask you to cut some wood for me before you went to the school.
Well, I'll do it now. Chop eggs, water baby, baby to the wood, turn the house.
Oh, the baby's gonna fall!
Oh my!
Give me that churn! Come here.
Oh, there. All safe.
Oh my, what a fright you gave me.
Whew.
The churn might have been spilled. You mustn't take your eyes off him a minute, my dear Crane.
Yes, Mistress Van Ripper. I should have remembered.
But through all his trials, Ichabod had his pleasant moments too. The schoolmaster is generally of some importance to the female circles of a rural neighborhood, and Ichabod was particularly esteemed by the women. They saw him as a man of great erudition. He had read several books quite through. He was a perfect master of Cotton Mather's History of New England Witchcraft, which I would say he most firmly and potently believed. And so it was that Ichabod spent many a long evening with the good Dutch housewives as they sat spinning by the fire, with a row of apples roasting and spluttering along the hearth, swapping tales of ghosts and goblins.
And on this night I'm telling you of, Master Crane, as I left the deathbed of Mistress and walked out into the midnight air, and there was a strange sort of breeze, cold and wet, and I wondered what it caused.
Yes?
I looked up towards the sky, and I saw a white object floating upwards. I watched it until it was completely out of sight, until she vanished into heaven.
It was her soul.
Aye, her soul, that I'm sure of. I remember when Mistress Van Winkle told me she had seen the same thing.
'Tis a wondrous thing, to be sure. It brings to mind a similar experience I once had in my native state of Connecticut.
Oh, tell us about it. I do, Master Crane.
Oh, well, I was traveling from one village to another late at night when I came upon a house.
Aye.
It was a lonely, completely abandoned place, but I was glad of any roof at that point. I had a terrible time getting my horse up to the house. He bolted and neighed in a terrible manner.
He knew.
Aye, mistress, this was a haunted house. There was a sound of a ghostly fiddle that filled the air, and now and then I heard snatches of crazy laughter, and footsteps going up the creaky stairs, though no one was to be seen. I called out, "Is anyone here?" And not an answer.
What a brave man you were, to call to a ghost.
Well, there's nothing really gravely to be feared of the dead. And then I searched the house,
Oh,
and not a soul did I find, though the footsteps followed me everywhere I went. Finally, the rain ceased. I climbed upon my horse, and he fled like the wind. He was glad to be free of that place. And if you would believe it, many times after that, in the light of day, I've traced the paths of that night, and I've never been able to find that spectral house.
wow. The spirits carried it away after you found their hiding place.
So I have come to believe.
There's not many men who would have such courage as yours, Master Crane.
Well,
Aye, that's right. I can see that he will not hold the terror for you, like he does for so many of us here in Terrytown and Sleepy Hollow.
he?
The Headless Horseman.
Oh, oh yes, the Headless Horseman.
You've surely heard of him by now. Buried in the churchyard on the hill.
Yes, to be sure, I've heard of him.
Have you, by chance, seen him?
Oh no, definitely not.
Oh, but you will anon. You will.
Yes. Well, I fear it's getting late. I best be going.
Oh, tarry a while. I can tell you many tales of the Headless Horseman.
At another time I should very much relish it, but now I must be on my way.
Well, very well. You're welcome any time, Master Crane.
Yes, thank you kindly. Oh, gee, a dark and moonless night. Well, I'd better. I wonder, Mrs. Van Horn, do you have a lantern you might spare for my walk home? So that I might not trip on the logs and stones, just a small lantern.
The return of the daylight, however, put an end to the dark and all its evils, and Ichabod Crane would have passed a pleasant life of it, if his path had not been crossed by a being that causes more perplexity to mortal man than ghosts and goblins and demons and the whole race of witches put together. You know what that was, don't you? A woman, Mr. Irving. A woman. Her name was Katrina Van Tassel. In addition to his other vocations, Ichabod Crane was also the singing master of the neighborhood. And among his musical disciples, who assembled one evening each week, was Katrina. She was a fresh, bloomin' lass of 18, ripe and melted, delighted in collecting the hearts of men as some would collect thimbles and teacups. Right over there to the left, Van Tassel Farm, that's where she lived. Then up here ways you'll find the Van Horn Homestead.
Well, I think that was a very good rendition. What do you think, Miss Van Tassel?
Oh, indeed, Mr. Crane. We've improved so much since you began instructing us in psalmody.
Oh, well, yes, thank you very much. That's very
Oh,
kind.
Mr. Crane, you're too much.
Of course, once a week is scarcely enough time to give in such an important matter. I mean, that is, with someone like you in particular, whose voice is by far the loveliest in the countryside.
Oh, Mr. Crane, I fear you're trying to turn my head with such compliments.
Oh, my dear, I can assure you it all comes from my heart. I could, if I could practice with you a bit some other times. It would be a great help to our choir in general, because you would progress so markedly.
Well, but how can such a thing be managed?
Well, the thought just now occurred to me that I might, that is, if your good parents would not object. I might perhaps call upon you at your home now and then, every evening, and practice with you there.
Oh, I couldn't think of taking so much of your valuable time, Mr. Crane.
Oh, no. I would consider it an honor, a very true honor. It's for the greater good of the choir.
Very well, you may come then, Master Crane, for the greater good of the choir.
Already threatened by her personal charms, when Ichabod entered her paternal mansion, the conquest of his heart was complete. The Van Tassel farm back there used to be the richest in the land, it was. And Katrina, an only child, would someday inherit it. To our perilous pedagogue, these vast expectations caused his imagination to run wild. But with everything happening in his brain, he overlooked two very important facts. The first being what the Sleepy Hollow boys would call a true coquette, with all the wild and caprices of those perplexing creatures. The second was Brom Van Brunt, or Brom Bones as the stout hero was called. Now he was a man to be reckoned with when his anger and jealousy were roused.
Abram, It looks like you met a rival that not only doesn't want to fight you, but refuses to. You're having to go by his rules this time.
I'd like to get my hands on that buffoon's scrawny neck.
What would you do to him, Brom?
Yes, tell us.
Why, I'd double him up and lay him on a shelf in his own schoolhouse.
That would be a sight.
Stuff him inside one of his school desks.
Why don't you then?
Laggard won't give me a chance. He refuses open warfare, hides from me, covers up his attention to Katrina under the guise of teaching psalmody.
Perhaps you could think up some trickery to play him, Brom.
Well, who do you think it was that smoked up the church by stuffing up the chimney?
Yes, and who was it that broke into the schoolhouse and turned everything topsy-turvy?
Did he think it was the Headless Horseman?
Still, after all those annoys, nothing's stopping him from calling on Katrina.
Headless Horseman. Now that's someone who could have some influence on Master Crane.
I've never known that white to go within a mile of the old graveyard.
What is it, Brom? You seem to be in a deep study.
Well, it just struck me. If Ichabod Crane won't fight me in a manner that I know, if he insists on doing things slyly, I shall have to fight him the same way.
Now, children, if you could all pull out your books for me and copy down these notes. A penny saved is a penny earned. Now, a stitch in time saves 9. Now, honesty is the best policy.
Why? Why is honesty the best policy?
Why, young lady? Because an honest young lady sleeps well at night, with no ghosts to haunt her. Now, if you will all turn your pages...
Hey, give me that!
Aha! No spitballs in my class, young lady. Now, class, turn your pages to... Yes, who is it?
Ichabod? May I see you, Mr. Ichabod?
Certainly. Children, I'm stepping out for a moment. If you could turn to page 47 in your book of maxims and begin to memorize the first 3 on the page. In silence. So, you're the man hired over at the Van Tassels, are you? Has dear Miss Katrina sent me a love message?
Miss Katrina and her papa sent me over here to invite you over to her house tonight.
You do? I am. They're inviting me.
They be holding the annual All Hallows Eve quilting frolic.
Oh, how perfectly lovely. Who else is invited?
Well, the Muellers, the Van Horns, Mr. Van Ripper, Mr. Brown and his lady.
Anyone else? Any other men?
You mean Mr. Brown Bones? Is he coming?
Yes. Is Brom Bones coming too?
Yeah, he'll be there, sure.
Oh, all right.
Saw him turn that old horse a little while ago.
Oh.
Sure looks good on that old horse, doesn't he, though?
Yes, sure he does.
Yes, handsomest fella I ever did see.
Yes, of course, that's enough now. I know all about Brom Bones. Katrina and her father want to see us both together, so that they can see how much more desirable I would be for a husband than Brom Bones. Yes, that's it. That's exactly it.
Well, it starts early at sundown. I wouldn't be late if I were you.
Oh, I'll be there on time, and plenty of time. And ahead of Brom Bones, too. Mr. Van Ripper?
Easy! You startled me, Ichabod.
I'm terribly sorry.
What do you want, you scarecrow?
Well, if I
Whatever
could...
it is, the answer's no.
Mr. Van Ripper, I'm going to the All Hallows Eve quilting frolic this evening.
Where?
Mr. Van Tassel's farm.
And the old boy invited you?
Well,
Must be crazier than I thought.
yes, I fancy he invited me on behalf of his daughter, Katrina Van Tassel.
Well, then he has gone crazy.
And there's one thing I have to ask of you, dear Van Ripper. I'll be returning rather late this evening, and Mr. Van Tassel's is quite far. And I should very much like to borrow a horse for the evening.
Oh, you would now?
Yes, sir.
Well, my first answer would be no. If I do let you borrow a horse, there's the possibility you might fall out of the saddle and break your neck, which would end the plague of Ichabod Crane in the whole countryside. So, for the possible benefit of the whole community, I will let you borrow a horse, Ichabod.
Oh, you will?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's very generous of you, Mr. Van Ripper. Now, which horse am I to use? The large white one with the black mane, or the gray mare over there?
Oh, no. I have a much better horse for you, Ichabod.
Oh, let's see it.
Gunpowder is the horse for you.
Yes, Gunpowder. He's quite skin and bones, isn't he?
All the better for speed.
And can he hear well?
Oh, sharp ears, that horse.
And doesn't he have a limp?
Best for riding in hilly country. Knows his way around.
Yes, but perhaps you could let me have a different horse.
You mean you don't want to accept Gunpowder?
Oh, no, certainly not. No.
Well, then it's all settled. You ride Gunpowder.
Yes, sir. I ride Gunpowder. A beautiful evening, Gunpowder. Oh, tonight. Katrina and I will dance, and we will eat, and then I have a genteel question to ask her. Oh, but you don't know what I'm saying, do you now? You're just a horse. Gunpowder, Katrina and I will be married soon, and I will be inheriting her father's whole fortune. I am, Gunpowder, I am. I definitely am going to marry Katrina. Oh, Katrina and I will be married. Oh, Katrina and I will be married. Oh, Katrina and I will be married before the autumn's up. Oh, Katrina and I will be married, and I will be rich.
Welcome, one and all, and happy Halloween to everybody.
Good party, Mr. Van Tassel.
Hold up, one at a time. There's plenty for everybody. We have turkey, we have ham and smoked beef. We have shortcakes and ginger cakes and honey cakes. We have sweet pies, peach pies, and pumpkin pie. Oh, now help yourself. There's bounty enough for everyone.
Well, who do we have here but Ichabod? Just a friendly slap on the back, friend. Hope I didn't cause you any discomfort.
No. Good evening, Brom.
Aye, it is a good evening, Ichabod. A time for making merry and being friendly. I'm glad to see you.
Oh, I thank you kindly.
Tell me, schoolmaster, have you seen Katrina?
Not yet.
Oh, you will shortly. I'm sure she's been looking for you.
Oh, you really think so?
Don't you think so?
Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to,
Aye, Ichabod, and I repeat, I'm very glad to see you here.
Yes, very glad to see you too, Brom. Now, where is Katrina? Oh, Katrina, my dear. I must tell you, Katrina, in truth, you are the flower of all the lasses here.
Oh, Ichabod, you must not flatter me so.
Oh, but Katrina, I'm most sincere. Everything I say to you is with the greatest of honesty and
I
feeling.
must ask you to excuse me. My mother's beckoning to me from the other room.
Yes, that's quite all right. There's so many people demanding her attention, I can scarcely get a word with her. It's not her fault. By chance, she'll come. Oh. Katrina who? I think I smell pumpkin pie. Excuse me, ma'am. If I could just guess. Thank you so very much. Excuse me. This ought to hold me for a bit.
Say, Ichabod, is that yours, that thing in the stable?
You mean gunpowder, Mr. Van Horn.
Gunpowder. Is that what you call it? You be careful he doesn't explode, school teacher. That horse should be stuffed and put in a museum.
It's very funny, Mr. Van Horn.
Did he really get you here?
Well, yes, he most certainly got me here. Most certainly indeed.
Miracle. Absolute miracle.
Now, Hans Van Ripper told me there's more devil lurking in gunpowder than any young filly in the country. And I believe him.
Hey-o for a drink, Ichabod. What do you say?
No thanks, I won't be drinking tonight, Mr. Van Horn.
Suit yourself, schoolmaster.
Drunken fool. Oh, there she comes. I simply must get her attention. Excuse me, ma'am. Pardon me.
Yo, Brum. You got that crazy look in your eye again. What were you doing last night in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery? Visiting a relative?
Let's just say I had a meeting with an old friend.
Looks like the schoolmaster found what he was looking for.
Of course he did. I bet he asked her to dance, too.
Looks like it to me.
She's mine, Dolphus. I swear before every god and devil inside and out of Sleepy Hollow, she's mine. But if I must lose her, I cannot bear to lose her to that insolent schoolmaster. And Ichabod Crane has come to Sleepy Hollow, a place of restless ghosts who may, just may, sometimes do a man a favor.
Brum, they don't do favors. If you made a deal with the devil, then you must have asked him too high a price.
But to be rid of Ichabod Crane, Dolphus, to be rid of him for good.
I just hope you didn't bet your soul, Brom Bones.
Look at that. She's actually gonna dance with that pompous fool. There they go. I can't watch.
Schoolmaster seems to be doing pretty well over there. No offense, Brom. No offense. Wonder how that undernourished little suckling can dance for the prettiest girl here.
Undernourished? That schoolmaster has the appetite of a baby elephant.
I watched him at the table. He didn't stop until he ate a whole hindquarter of a 2-year-old sow.
Yes. Now. Now I know we all love a good dance every now and then. But when it comes to storytelling, well, that be our specialty here at Van Tassel Farm.
Nothing better than storytelling.
You, Hans, you always have a good tale to tell.
Tell us, Mr. Van Ripper.
Yes, tell us.
I wouldn't mind hearing. Well, that tulip tree growing at the center of Hollow Road. Major Andre's tree. You know it, Ichabod?
Major Andre's tree?
Well, I've seen him, hanging on that tulip tree. Bloodied as could be with his clothes tattered to shreds. And on some nights, when the air cools, and you haven't your wits about you, you can hear his great voice, throwing out his own mighty curse. Stay with me forever.
Oh, come now, is that all?
What about the woman in white?
Everyone's heard about the woman in
I
white.
bet he ain't never heard tell of Aaron Kelly's bones. You tell him that story there, Mr. Shorts.
Well, have you ever heard of Aaron Kelly, schoolmaster?
No, I don't believe I've heard of him.
Well, Aaron Kelly was dead. They bought him a coffin, had a funeral, and buried him. But that night he got out of his coffin, and he came home. His family was sitting around by the fire when he walked in. He sat down next to the window, and he said, "What's going on? You all act like somebody died. Who's dead?" His widow said, "You are." "I don't feel dead," he said. "I feel fine." "You don't look fine," his widow said. "You look dead. You'd better get back to the grave where you belong." "I'm not going back to the grave until I feel dead," he said. Now, since Aaron wouldn't go back, his wife couldn't collect the money from his will. Without that, she couldn't pay for the coffin, and the undertaker said he would take it back. Aaron didn't care, of course. He just sat in a chair by the fire, rocking and warming his hands and feet. But his joints were dry and his back was stiff. And every time he moved, he creaked and he cracked. One night, the best fiddler in town came to court the widow. Since Aaron was dead, the fiddler wanted to marry her. The two of them sat on one side of the fire, and Aaron sat on the other side, creaking and cracking. "How long do we have to put up with this dead corpse?" the widow asked. "Something must be done," the fiddler said. "This isn't very jolly," Aaron said. "Let's dance." And so Aaron got out his fiddle, and he started to play. Aaron stretched himself, shook himself, got up, took a step or two, and began to dance. With his bones rattling and his yellow teeth snapping, and his bald head wagging and his knee bones knocking, around and round and round he went. With his long legs clicking and his knee bones knocking, he skipped and pranced around the room, round and round and round the room. How that dead man danced! But pretty soon a bone worked loose and fell on the floor. "Look at that," the fiddler said. "Play faster," said the widow. Rickety-crack, down and back, the dead man went hopping, and his dry bones kept dropping this way and that way. The pieces just kept popping. "Play, man, play!" cried the widow. The fiddler fiddled, and dead Aaron danced. Then Aaron fell apart, collapsed into a pile of bones. All except his bald head that grinned at the fiddler, cracked its teeth, and kept dancing. "Look at that!" groaned the fiddler. "Play louder!" cried the widow. "Ho ho!" said the head bone. "Ain't we having fun?" The fiddler couldn't stand it. "Widow," he said, "I'm going home," and he never came back. The family gathered up Aaron's bones, put them back in the coffin, buried him right here in Sleepy Hollow, and they mixed up his bones so that he couldn't put them back together. After that, Aaron stayed in his grave, but his widow never did get married again. I'd say Aaron saw to that. Wouldn't you say, Ichabod?
You are always the best at telling stories, Shorts. It's about as good a tale as a galloping Hessian.
Now there's one to be feared.
It was about 2 months ago when I met the galloping soldier myself.
You did, Brom?
He had a jack-o'-lantern that he was carrying under his arm.
Well, what did you do?
Do? Well, I just looked right at him and where his head wasn't. And I told him that my horse Daredevil could outrun any horse in the valley, and I offered to race him.
You actually raced the Headless Horseman?
Sure, I raced him until he gave up, 'cause he knew he couldn't beat my horse Daredevil.
Well, weren't you frightened?
Brombones? Frightened? Me? I'm not scared of anything.
Not even a ghost without a head?
With or without a head. No ghost can scare me.
Well, I don't think I'd be frightened either. Oh, there you are, Katrina.
Why, Ichabod, I thought you'd gone.
I took the liberty of staying after the others left. I'd like to speak with you.
Very well. What is it?
Well, I thought maybe... could we perhaps go out by the harbor or the well?
It's turned quite chill out. I'd rather stay inside.
It
You may say whatever it is here.
wasn't really something so much to say, but something to ask.
Then ask me.
No, I'd like to speak to your father first.
Well, I thought you wanted to speak to me.
Well, yes, I'd like to speak to you and your father about you. I would like to ask for your hand.
My hand?
In marriage.
In marriage. In marriage. In marriage?
It really wasn't a joke.
They said this was a favorite spot for ghosts and goblins. I beg to differ, Gunpowder. It's just an owl. Ah! There's something white hanging in that tulip tree. Oh, it's just another owl. Did you hear that, Gunpowder? No? Well, I didn't either. Truly, Gunpowder, this is a place of dire enchantment. Get off! Get off! 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 Onward, Gunpowder! Onward! What was that? Oh, probably just the boughs of two trees rubbing together. Now, don't be afraid, Gunpowder. Oh dear, if there were only some way to get back without crossing Wiley's swamp. I shall give Gunpowder a score of kicks, and then we shall cross the bridge quickly. Now! No, you stupid horse, you're going the wrong way! Come along now. Turn around. Turn around, Gunpowder. No, Gunpowder, we must jump over the logs, not walk alongside them. Ah! What was that? There's something hiding in that grove. Something black and cowering. I must show that I'm not afraid. Who are you? Who are you? I must get away. On, Gunpowder! Onward! It's coming out of the shadows. It's so dark I can only tell that it's somebody on a horse. On, Gunpowder! He's riding fast, too. Perhaps if we lag behind, he'll ride past us, Gunpowder. Whoa! Oh my. He seems to be slacking with us. Oh, we're coming upon a rise in the ground where it's lighter. Perhaps I'll recognize him. It's him, Gunpowder! Hurry, Gunpowder, away! Faster! Faster! Yeah! I shall have to hang onto your neck, Gunpowder. If we reach the bridge, we'll be safe. Hurry, Gunpowder! The bridge! He may not cross it! Come on! Gunpowder! At last, the bridge. At last, we're safe. He's rising in his stirrups. He's gonna throw his pumpkin!
Gunpowder!
It's right there by the bridge, Mr. Irving, where they found Ichabod's hat, right next to a shattered pumpkin. It seems the pumpkin that had been thrown from some distance. They found gunpowder outside Mr. Van Ripper's gate the next morning. Clearly in distress and missing his rider. No sign of Mr. Crane at breakfast, nor the dinner hour. The children showed up for school the next day. No sign of their schoolmaster. He hasn't been seen or heard from in Sleepy Hollow since. Well, now this could be a rumor. An old farmer who I ran into back in New York on a visit some time ago reported to me that Ichabod Crane was still alive, had studied law, and had finally been made a justice of the 10-pound court. Brom Bones, of course, who shortly after the disappearance led Katrina to the altar, was observed to seem exceedingly knowing when asked about the disappearance of Ichabod, and he always burst into a hearty laugh at the mention of a pumpkin. But the old country wives, who are best judges of these matters, maintain to this day that there are no two ways to the matter, and that poor Master Crane was carried off by the galloping Hessian, spirited to another world by the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow.